My man Czar make tracks like this.
What's going on, y'all? I want to give you my review of the Chameleon Labs 7603. This is a mic pre EQ channel strip, and it's the successor from the 7602. And I'm speaking through the 7603 right now into this Rode Procaster. The first thing I realized after taking the 7603 out the box is that this is heavy. It weighs in at a little over 11 pounds. And just the heaviness of it just makes me feel like there's a lot of good stuff inside. Inside, you've got the custom input and output transformers from Chameleon Labs, as well as their own inductors that they've wound for the EQ section. So let's take a look at the front panel. So looking at the front of the 7603, and you'll notice that yes, this is another Neve 1073 clone. And I'm not a fan of clones unless you approve upon the design, and I do feel that Chameleon Labs improved upon the design of the 1073 here. Looking closely at this, if you know what you get with a 1073, you get a fixed 12K shelf on the high end. You've got some more frequencies in the high frequencies here, as well as an interesting one I find in the high mids, which is a 3.4K shelf, something that I haven't seen on other 1073s. Interestingly, on here you have a VU meter. I haven't seen a VU meter on another 1073 clone. And not only do you have a VU meter, you have the option to go between input and output. And if you're monitoring quieter sources, you also have a negative 20 dB that you can flip to, besides the typical 0 dB there. You also have input and output overload peak meters that you'll see here for your input section and here for your output section. So that's really helpful. It lets you know that when you're starting to clip the input or output stage of the unit. The knobs have a really nice feel with inductor EQs. You get a really nice click as you step through them. So I really like the feel of the knobs. One thing that I noticed that's just kind of odd to me. So typically with your switches, you have left is on, or left is out, and right is on, or left is off, right is on. With the phantom power here, right is off and left is on, which is just something I found odd. A nice thing that I like about this is that you can step through the gain without hearing any loud audible pops in the signal path. So that's handy if you're tracking someone who hits a high note and you need to back them down real quick. You can do that with the gain without hearing an excessively loud pop in the signal. Your output also has a center detent. That is nice. I'm going to go through some of the EQ on here really quickly. Bringing the EQ section in, I feel adds just a little subtle harmonics just running through the inductors. So when I've been tracking with it, even though I haven't been using any EQ, I don't typically EQ when I'm tracking, but just flipping that EQ section in and letting the signal run through those inductors will add some subtle harmonics to the signal that I have liked every time. So I just leave that in. Let's check out the high end. Let's check out this 3.4K shelf. So I'm going to boost that a little bit here so you can hear how that sounds. This is with the EQ in, and this is with the EQ out. EQ in boosting at 3.4, and with the EQ out. Let's take it down to the low here. So let's do 350. This is with a little 350 hertz with the out, and this is with the 350 hertz in. So this is EQ in, and this is with the EQ out. One more time, EQ in and EQ out. And just lastly, we'll run through the high pass filter here. This is with 160 hertz rolled off. This is with 320 rolled off, 60 rolled off, and the EQ section back out. So let's take a look now at some tracks that I've recorded through the 7603. We're going to take a look at a female singer and some male rap vocals. So this is a singer-songwriter named Simone Curry. She did a cover here of "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off." This was recorded with the 7603 and what mic did we use? The Vanguard V4 was the mic that we used for this. And I have the impedance on 1200 for this. And the next example, I'm going to show you the difference between the 300 and 1200 impedance. But I'm going to play a little bit of this vocal. This is no EQ, no compression. As far as the EQ, I think the only thing we did was use the high pass filter. And I do have a little bit of reverb on it so it doesn't sound so dry. So let's take a listen to this.
Just slow down if you want me. A man likes to be approached cool and romantically. I've got needs just like you, and if the conversation good vibrations through and through, come on baby, won't you show some class? Wow, we gotta move so fast. We don't have to take our clothes off to have a good time. No, we could dance and party all night and drink some cherry wine. Oh, oh no. Hey.
So I'm extremely pleased with how that vocal came out. I feel it doesn't need any additional EQing. The 7603 adds some nice low mid warmth there, but it's not so much where it's overly colored or makes it muddy, and it still has clarity there in the low mids. It's open on the top end. I don't feel like there's any high end that needs to be added. Just the raw recording just sounds beautiful. Let's move on to another track that we recorded with the 7603. So this is another track that I recorded with Simone Curry using the 7603. It's a cover of "Look What I Found." Again, we're using the Vanguard V4 mic for this. And in this example, I'm going to show you the difference between the 300 ohm and the 1200 ohm impedance options on the 7603. With the 300 ohms is what I decided to track this song with, and I felt it gave it a more darker tone, and so what I did was I boosted about 4 dB of 12K on the 7603 to add some high end, but it gave it a more vintage tone where the 1200 was more just naturally sounding open. And I'm going to play the 1200 ohm first. No, I'm going to play the 300 ohm first since that's what we tracked it with, and then I'll play the 1200 ohms.
I'm alone in my house. I'm out on the town. I'm at the bottom of a bottle. I've been knocking them down. I can't get back up on my feet. See the lights on the street like stars. But look what I found. Look what I found. Another piece of my heart just laying on the ground.
And this is now with the 1200 impedance.
I'm alone in my house. I'm out on the town. I'm at the bottom of a bottle. I've been knocking them down. I can't get back up on my feet. See the lights on the street like stars. But look what I found. Look what I found. Another piece of my heart just laying on the ground.
Now I'm going to play for you this phrase where, to me, you can really hear the difference between this 300 and 1200 ohm option here. So listen to the word peace in this phrase, and you can hear in the 300 ohm we have less clarity and it has more of a vintage tone to me, whereas the 1200 is more open and bright.
Another piece of my heart, another piece of my heart.
So very different tonal options you have there with the 300 and 1200 impedance. If you're using the 300 impedance, you will need to step your gain down because you are mismatching the impedance of the microphone. 1200 is considered normal impedance for most modern microphones these days. Let's move on to some rap vocals recorded with the 7603 now. So this is an artist and producer here in Nashville named Trax Beats. And if you watch my review of the Vanguard V4, this is the same clip from that. However, we re-recorded the verse using the Mojave MA50 into the 7603. He just wanted to retrack it to try to get a better delivery on it. And this is what we came up with. So the hook, you remember, is done with the V4, but what we're paying attention to here is the verse. That's what was done using the 7603, and we used a Mojave MA50 mic.
Ride through the east side, yeah. Windows down while I'm getting high. I get bread on bail like Pablo. Keep a stick, pray hard like Rollo. Hey. Been did this since Bell Hollow. Every place I bop, they follow. Remember rolling in Monte Carlos. This bitch so clean, no spot hole. Every pocket hold cheese nacho. I don't worry about my guapo. I don't want no rollie or protect. Long my fam going board that jet. I'm running it up, boy, it ain't no flex. You ain't heard new big boy up next. Put it on me, ball hard, no net. Mention my name with some respect. I got the game, crew got the rest. You ain't heard me, but my last name West. I ain't got time for the he say, she say, chit chat, get back, bitch.
Okay, so with the 7603 there, again, we get a nice smooth vocal. No frequencies are poking out. I feel this possibly could use a little bit of EQ, maybe a little, I like to add some 3.2 on rap vocals with a Neve style EQ. I could see this using a little bit of that, but there's no frequencies in here I feel that needs to be cut. So I'm happy with the frequency response that I'm getting with the 7603 here. And just as a comparison, I'll flip back to what we recorded last time with the Mic Tech MP-A201, which is a darker style, Neve style preamp. So I'll play that and then I'll switch into what we recorded with the 7603.
While I'm getting high, I get bread on bill like Pablo. Keep a stick, pray hard like Rollo. Hey. Been did this since Bell Hollow. Every place I bop, they follow. Remember rolling in Monte Carlos. This bitch so clean, no spot hole. Every pocket hold cheese nacho. I don't worry about my guapo. I don't want no rollie or protect. Long as my fam going board that jet. I'm running up, boy, it ain't no flex. You ain't heard new big boy up next. Put it on me, ball hard, no net.
So with the 7603, it is brighter. It's more open. And I mean, really, either one could be fine. It's really a preference thing, but more often than not, I feel like the 7603 would work better on a vocal for more so the style that I normally record and that I like. So here I've recorded myself into the using the Mojave MA50 into the La Chapelle 500 DT, going with the fully solid state side. And I've also recorded it into the 7603. And I'm doing this comparison just so you can hear just the low mid warmth that the 7603 adds. A lot of times it can be hard to hear what something is doing until you hear it compared to something else. So I've got a really clean pre here with the 500 DT, and I'm going to switch back and forth as I read this product description. The top track, let's change the color of that just to make it more noticeable. We'll go with the purple, it's fine. So the top is going to be the 7603 and the bottom blue is the 500 DT. And we'll start out with the 500 DT. Congratulations on your purchase of a fine Chameleon Labs 7603 microphone line preamplifier.
We hope that it gives you many years of reliable and high-quality service. Your model 7603 has a transformer balanced input with a range between 20 dB and 70 dB of gain. The separate line input is also transformer balanced and accepts input levels from -30 to 20 dB. The equalizer section is a selectable 3-band design with a flexible filter section.
So you can hear the low-mid warmth that the 7603 adds when compared to very clean pre. So compared to my other preamps, the 7603 fills a nice space for me because it has clarity in the low mids and it's open on the top end that I find that a lot of Neve 1073 clones don't have. And I haven't been a fan, or I'm not a fan of a lot of 1073 clones because of that. They lack the clarity in the low mids. They're not open on the top end and they're a little dark. And it's just not a sound that I'm a fan of for vocals. Where the 7603 fits in for me, it has less color than my Rupert Neve's 511 with the silk turned all the way up. My Little Devil pre, I would say, is more colored than this. However, it sits nicely between the clean and colored because it's so open on the top end. It's not as clean, of course, as like my La Chapelle pre, but it fills a nice void for me because it gives me something in between that clean and colored space. And I've been a really huge fan of it, especially on vocals so far. And everything that I've recorded, I haven't had to EQ, especially with the female vocal you heard. I don't hear any EQing that I need to do to that. That vocal is ready to go. And the only thing I did was use the high pass filter on it. I had to do no EQing to it during tracking. So I'm a huge fan of the 7603 pre. If you're looking for a Neve 1073 clone, definitely give this one a look if you want one that sounds more open and not dark, and one that has clarity for it. If you pair this with a transformerless mic like I've been doing, it's going to give you a lot of clarity. So that's my thoughts on the Chameleon Labs 7603. I feel it's a very underrated piece of gear. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but this thing sounds fantastic, so I definitely check it out. Any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time.